Streets of Rage is one of the earliest beat-em-ups in the genre, and some see it as a direct competitor to Final Fight. But I see it as the first step into establishing what beat-em-ups had the potential to be. Streets of Rage does everything that every other early beat-em-up game did, but it blows it all out of the water with design that is much more fair, consistent, and creative. I love almost everything about it, so the only way I can think to do this is by going in order. Firstly, there are the differences in the player characters. At first it seems like your standard 3 character setup that all beat-em-ups have. You have the average guy, you have the fast one, and you have the one with really long arms that deals a lot of damage. Earlier beat-em-ups like Final Fight and Golden Axe mostly only had these large, very visible differences, and they didn't affect the playstyle very much. You can pretty much play the game the same way with every person. Streets of Rage said fuck it to that, and they not only made the traditional differences much greater between the characters, but also gave them a whole ton of nuances that weren't present until this point in beat-em-ups history. The exact length of somebody's leg during a jump attack, or how quickly an individual moves up and down the screen, had never been as important as they were in this game. But of course the differences between these characters don't mean a damn thing unless the enemy design works with them, and oh boy does it do that. Streets of Rage has very intelligent, distinct behaviors for all of its AI. Garcia zooms in and out, bobbing back and forth around the character, almost never confronting him directly unless it's one of the faster variations. And he ends up being the designated wild card, being the only enemy character that can actually use player weapons. Noras have the longest range and always stay at arm's length. Yellow signals bob in and out toward the player and are most dangerous at a close range, though they will attack you with a sliding kick if you stand still too long. And Hikuyos are capable of attacking you way faster than any other enemy character, capable of sliding across the screen with a dashing kick, or simply jumping all the way to your destination directly. And most importantly, these are not stupid enemies. You cannot just mash in front of them and expect them to walk into your fist, nor can you trap them on the edge of the screen and wait for them to stand back up. They will actively try to move around and surround you. This variety of enemy types and behaviors, each with their own little nuances just like the characters, means that when they appear on the screen you have to pay very close attention to each of them, where they are, and what their next move will be in relation to your position. You have to pay much more attention to the AI and its behaviors and its varieties than you do in any earlier beat-em-ups, because they matter a lot more. And sure, that's pretty sweet by itself, but the reason I told you all of that, the reason I told you how the AI works and what it does, is so we could establish the way the player characters interact with it. Depending on who you play as, you're going to have vastly different solutions to each problem each of these enemy characters presents. And even when you have similar solutions for multiple characters, you're going to have to time them differently because of things like range and variety in animations. Those different attack styles aren't just for flair, they determine how combos end up and how effective they are on which enemy type you're fighting. You're probably going to spend a lot more time being aggressive with Blaze by going to the enemies really quickly and either throwing them across the ground or just beating their face in, as well as dodging enemy attacks and kicks by moving up and down with her excellent speed, while with Adam you'll be knocking those same enemies out of the air with his jump kick and staying at a distance to wait for the enemies to come to you thanks to his enhanced range. I'm not going to try and pull shit by saying it's 3 different games in one, but the design certainly changes up on you depending on who you pick in a big way. Nowhere is this more clear than with the game's boss battles. They have very simple gimmicks with very simple solutions that somehow manage to tear this enormous rift between the playable characters. If you try to fight Big Ben with Adam the same way you would with Blaze or Axel, you're going to get your ass handed to you. If you try to fight Antonio with Blaze or Axel the same way you would fight him with Adam, you're going to get your ass handed to you. These differences in playstyles cannot be ignored, they cannot be circumvented. The characters and the enemies are just too different and work together too well. So on a base level, you have a beat 'em up with smart enemies with smart movesets that have tiny little nuances to their design, as well as creative and fun boss battles with simple but challenging gimmicks that can be overcome like a puzzle. But when you add the other 2 playable characters, the sheer scope, enormity, and creativity of the game design balloons up. It made the best early beat-em-up from every design standpoint possible. It may have not done anything that incredibly new, but it sure did it a hell of a lot better than anyone else ever did until that point. Streets of Rage showed people the potential that beat-em-ups had. As far as I'm concerned, it validated the genre. That's a big fucking statement, but if there were any game, any early beat-em-up that would show the industry that this genre was worth its time, it had to be Streets of Rage.